President. Madam President, on Friday, the Department of Labor reported that inflation had hit a near 40-year high, confirming what many American families have been feeling in their wallets for many months. The soaring cost of virtually everything from gasoline to groceries is a growing crisis that affects families across our nation. The numbers are alarming. During the past year, the consumer price of goods and services jumped by nearly 7%. That's the highest rate since 1982. It represents the sixth consecutive month of inflation exceeding 5%. The goods experiencing the greatest increases read like a list of everyday essentials. Energy costs are up by 33%. Used vehicles are up by 31%. Hamburger costs more by 14%. Milk, eggs, baby food, furniture, and many other necessities all cost more, and those prices are simply unsustainable for many working families. The pain is being felt across the nation, including in my state of Maine. I have heard from many Mainers worried about how they will be able to afford and 60% of our homes use fuel oil. And forth to work and to put nutritious food on the table. Gas prices in Maine are about $1.30 per gallon higher than last year. Business owners face the often impossible challenge of paying higher prices for commodities, food, and supplies without passing those increases on to their already struggling consumers. For example, Maine restaurant owners who have already experienced an extraordinarily difficult 18 months due to the pandemic are now grappling with double-digit percentage increases in the cost of ingredients and other goods needed to run their businesses. An owner of a restaurant I visited in Searsport told me that the cost of fryer grease has skyrocketed from $19 to $48 per case. Another restaurant owner in Rockland recently told the Bangor Daily News that the price for prime ribs has more than doubled from $7 to $17. These supply costs shrink their and forcing them to pass on some of the inflationary costs left. Even with the increased hours, she said she is struggling with rising costs from food to electricity. Melissa Holmes, the gas station manager, said that her twice monthly grocery bill has increased from $300 to $500, and it now costs her $60 to fill up her 2011 Ford Explorer. That is $20 more than last year. Ms. Holmes also described facing customers who are frustrated by the higher prices. The cost of chicken, for example, has gone up, so an order of chicken tenders has jumped from $5.49 to $8.99. That's a big increase, and customers are feeling that squeeze. After passage of the president's $1.9 trillion stimulus this spring, the price of goods and services went up. We heard reassurances from the president's team that this inflation was transitory, but no acknowledgement of the role that their policies have had on soaring prices. Americans are feeling the consequences as Washington has overheated the economy. We in Congress must confront this inflation crisis, but instead, the Biden administration is pushing trillions in additional macroeconomic stimulus in the president's Build Back Better plan. The consequences for an already overheated economy could be devastating. Given the clear link between recent extraordinary government spending and rampant inflation, we should not be adding more fuel to the fire. Our economy is ailing, so it would be wise to begin to follow the maxim that guides medical professionals. First, do no harm. Democrats have said that their spending spree, which follows the Build Back Better plan, would cost $1.7 trillion. Several of the proposals in that plan would be set to expire after 1, 3, or 5 years, a gimmick that hides the true cost, because we know that is not what the real hope is, nor what is going to happen. Last week, the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projected that making the social spending programs in the Build Back Better plan permanent would, in fact, cost $4.9 trillion over the decade. $4.9 trillion. Doing so would add $3 trillion to the deficit, unless paid for with even more taxes beyond those that the Democrats have already proposed in their bill. That's much higher than the purported $1.7 trillion price tag, because we know that the ultimate goal is to make these expensive programs permanent. Madam President, inflation is a regressive tax. It does not discriminate among the rich and the poor. It does not take into account the ability to pay. It is a cruel tax, one that punishes thrift by diminishing the value of savings. This is damaging to families that are saving to buy a home or for their children's education. it can be devastating to our seniors who can do nothing but helplessly watch as the retirement funds that they worked for their whole lives don't go nearly as far as they had expected. Like the pandemic itself, we do not know for certain whether this inflation crisis will abate, be prolonged, or even accelerate. Our immediate focus should be on measures that we know will have a lasting and beneficial impact on our economy, such as implementing the bipartisan infrastructure law, opening up and repairing our supply chains, getting more Americans back to work, and protecting the earnings of hardworking Americans. What we should not do is pass trillions of dollars in additional spending in the administration's Build Back Better bill that would exacerbate the toll that inflation imposes on seniors, working families, and small businesses. We should not take that risk. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor, and I suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin.